Hey everyone, welcome to the channel and another review. Now normally I usually only review or do individual videos for movies that I've seen in theaters, but this weekend we didn't have any new releases. I did go see The Batman again for a second showing, and that was nice to see again. It did, not to talk about it too long in this video, but it did, I think, it didn't come down in any of my ranking or liking of it since my first watch through. It is still a movie that I really love and highly recommend. But again, that's not what we're here to talk about. But yeah, since that was the only thing I was kind of interested in seeing this weekend with no new releases, that just left me kind of stuck at home. So with that, I ended up watching Turning Red, which released on Disney Plus. And so yeah, with that, we are going to talk about it here. Just watched it today. And yeah, let's get into it. So to start off, we'll just go with a synopsis here. And Turning Red is a movie about a 13-year-old girl named Maylin who turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets too excited. So pretty simple premise. My anticipation going into this movie was not very high. I had seen some of the trailers that have been released. I mean, I was interested because it's a Pixar film, and Pixar's made some really great films in the past. Including Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. They had their peak in the 2000s. I think they've had some good stuff recently. I thought that Soul was good, and that Onward was good. I enjoyed both of those, but Luca, that was a fun film, but not the best that I've seen. So, Pixar's been kind of hit or miss. And so seeing the trailers for this one, it just didn't really look like my type of film. Focusing on, adolescent girl and, all of her friends and stuff like that and that sort of thing. It looked like it might be fun, and I was interested enough to check it out because it's Pixar, but I wasn't really, looking forward to it that much. So with that, I watched it today, and yeah, we'll just talk about my thoughts. Now, normally I divide it up into the good and the bad, but this one's pretty mixed overall. So I'm just gonna kind of talk about points as they come up. And first off, I will say the animation for this was really well done. It was an interesting sort of blend of like stylized, sort of anime inspired animation in a way. It's still very much Pixar and the 3D animation, but it's not going for realism like the sort of animation you would see in. I mean, it's a different studio, but say like Frozen. Like that's still animation, but they're going for a fairly realistic take on it. This, I think they stylized it a bit. Just some of the movements and mannerisms that come through definitely felt sort of anime inspired, and I thought that was very fresh and enjoyable to see in the movie. So I thought, yeah, the animation, as always from Pixar, knocked it out of the park. And yeah, the story though I thought was just kind of meh for me. I think objectively it was a good story, but it felt like one that we've seen 1,000 times before, and then it just wasn't one that particularly connected with me personally. And I think a lot of that just had to do as well with the characters. So the main character, I think she's a good character, and interesting enough, I just don't relate to her as and her kind of arc that she goes through. I mean, part of it is she's a 13-year-old adolescent girl, but that, I mean, doesn't prevent people from, other ages or other genders from necessarily identifying with her. But I think that kind of contributed to that a bit as well. But yeah, so I thought she was a fine main character, but not the most compelling. The second kind of main character is her mom, and I felt like she was very straightforward. Same with Mei Mei. They just had it feels like a dynamic we've seen 1,000 times. The girl is raised to be mama's perfect little daughter, and which she is, but then as she becomes a teenager, starts to go off and do her own thing. That upsets her mom, who wants to hold on tighter, and then by the end she has to let go. Like hey, I think we've seen this before in another Pixar film. Oh yeah, Brave. They did it just in Scotland instead of 2000, like early 2000s Canada in Toronto. Like it's one we've seen before, even by the same studio. So it's I don't know. It's that part of it just it's good enough in and of itself, but it's not anything brand new in my opinion. So yeah, I thought those two main characters they were fine. The dad I thought again was pretty stereotypical for an animated film. He's just kind of there. Uh, at least he did have one conversation with his daughter that seemed to have some impact on the story. Sometimes you don't even get that, but like he's basically just hanging out there for that until he could have his one scene and one conversation. And I mean, to be fair, I suppose that's kind of realistic. Like at that point, as an adolescent girl, she's going to break away from both her parents, but still probably be tied on to a bit to her mom. So I don't know. It seems like this is the sort of dad that's depicted in almost every single sort of family film for the most part. I've just seen it too many times where here again we've got a dad who's just kind of checked out. Although not necessarily checked out, he's just kind of there. It's not that he's a bad dad. He's just not really involved. So I don't know. That's yeah. So and then her friends I thought were all pretty generic. It felt like, oh, we got to have like this type of friend and this type of friend and this type of friend to have our get every single sort of personality demographic that's out there for her three main friends, so nobody feels left out. And it just seems like it's the stereotypical ones that Hollywood always goes with. You got like the pretty cool one, you got the quiet and reserved one, and then you got the kind of nerdy one, or just like yeah. So I don't know. They again just didn't like they weren't bad characters. They just felt very familiar and old hat. So yeah, and that's kind of all the characters across the board. So I mean the end result for the story I thought was just very straightforward. Although I will say the third act actually kind of the whole movie felt very small scale. Like it's a girl dealing with becoming an adult and trying to find out who she is, and then the main plot is that she and her friends want to go to this concert. So it's very like they're trying to get money to go to the concert basically. So the plot that's set up is very like small scale in my opinion, and I mean, I guess for that reason, it doesn't surprise me that the Pixar movies like this keep getting shifted to Disney Plus. Like this originally was going to be coming to theaters, but the scope of the story just feels small, just like Luca did, and so it feels more like a streaming movie. But I will say, without really going into spoilers, the third act actually gets a bit bigger and feels a bit more theatrical. So I appreciated that by the third act, and I thought they ended on a good note. I'd say my interest in the movie started very minimal, and it slowly grew as the movie went on. So that at least had it going for it. And yeah, otherwise, just to kind of wrap things up, it's a fun movie. I would say if I had to describe it in a word, it's charming. It's not one of my favorites. It was good enough. I'd say me personally, I'd probably kind of go in the meh category. Like it was fun, it was fine. But that's just how it connected with me. I think objectively, it's a good movie and one I'd recommend. And I think anyone would enjoy it, and it will connect a lot more with other people that I think it resonates with. It just didn't really resonate with me very much. So I don't really knock the movie for that. It's just not going to be one of my favorite movies, and that's fine. Not every movie is going to be that way. So. Yeah, I'd say if you're like me and got nothing new to see in theaters, then this is probably worth a watch, and hopefully you'll enjoy it more than I did. I just it's middle of the road animation for me, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So that wraps up this review for Turning Red. If you've had a chance to see it on Disney Plus, leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you thought of it. And if you enjoyed this review, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe so you don't miss my next review. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.